but what actually made you throw your hat into the ring to run for sheriff?
You know, and a lot of people ask me that, and you know, I don't have this feel-good story of, you know, my whole career I said I was going to run for sheriff, because that'd be a lie. It's not the case. You know, when I always said that I was going to go out when Troy went out, which is our current sheriff, and when he just, everybody knows that he was having some medical issues, and you know, he decided that he was going to retire, and I wasn't ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, I just wasn't ready to go. And people throughout the agency started calling me, you know, daily, man, you really should consider, you know, putting your name in the hat. And after the 8th or 9th phone call, you know, I went home and talked to my wife. I said, everybody keeps calling me saying I should consider running for sheriff. And she said, Matt, who else is there? I mean, who else right now is there that has the most experience, you know, that has the experience that you have, and that's done everything that you've done at the sheriff's office? You know, I really didn't want her to be right. So I thought real hard about that for real long. And I was like,
somebody else.
I was like, well, nobody. And she goes, that's why they're calling you. Everybody likes you. You know, you're just that guy. So, I mean, it only makes sense. And I said, well, I guess you're right. So the rest is history.
Yeah, well, that speaks volumes. Though, in my opinion, you know, you can have it either way. That could have been the target the whole time, or
and I'll tell you, you know, when I turned in my paperwork to retire, that was one of the hardest things that I've ever done, because I knew there's a possibility that I would not be going back into law enforcement. Right. You know, if
they didn't rehire you, you mean? How does that work when you retire and then go back?
That's a prereq, right? You have to retire to run for sheriff?
You know, it would be real hard to say that you're not politicking on duty. You know, the first time somebody asks you while you're in uniform at work, hey, are you running for sheriff? And, you know, it goes any further than that.
So it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
You know, and our sheriff did it. I just thought it was the right thing to do.
I got you.
And I had the time and I was able to do it. But to turn that paperwork in knowing that you may not ever go back into law enforcement, and that's where your heart and soul is, it's it was hard.
That's kind of I never really thought about that. That's tough to take that next step. You got to risk kind of risk it all in a certain way, you know.
And you know, I said before, I'm just not working for another sheriff. Mm-hmm. Either I'll handle it myself, or, you know, that's going to be it.
Yeah.
I made it through 4. So, you know, and that says a lot.
What's it like? Yeah. What's it like for a regime change? Right. It's
so here's the thing. When I started in law enforcement, Larry Benefield, you know, he was sort of a mentor to me. And when I started in law enforcement, you know, something I'll always remember, he told me, he said, either you're going to be the police or you're going to be a politician. You can't mix the two. Mm. And it was until the first sheriff's race that I really didn't quite grasp what he was saying. But I knew to stay out of the politics of it. You know, just as long as I do my job, nobody's going to be mad at me. Right. And that's exactly what I did. So I was able to transition from, you know, that sheriff to the next sheriff, which was George Payne. And I stayed out of the politics of the campaign. And then same thing, you know, from sheriff to sheriff, you know, nobody's going to be mad at you if you just do your job.
Correct.
So, you know, and that's what I've told a lot of the guys that have come in, you know, under me, you know, just be the police. Nobody's ever going to be mad at you if you're just the police.
Yeah. What is we've mentioned, I guess, recruitment, salaries, what's some of the other issues that's facing Harrison County when it comes to law enforcement? Joey works at a school, you know, school security.
So
unfortunately that's always in the news, right?
Well, yeah. And, you know, people, since this has started, you know, I've had a lot of phone calls. Are our schools not safe? And I'm like, our schools are safe. Right. You know, can we make them safer? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, no matter what you do, there's always room for improvement.
Correct. But it's unfortunate that they're a target, whether it's our schools. I mean, I don't think any of the schools knew that they were being targeted, right? Or they would have prevented it.
Absolutely.
Right? So you got to have this kind of constant state of readiness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and there's a few things that I'm going to do different. Homeland Security is already doing threat assessments in all the schools, and they do a good job the schools do on following through with whatever they say. Okay, this needs to change and this needs to change. But as far as the sheriff's office goes, K9 was a big portion of my career. And when I was in K9, we had school resource dogs.
Yeah. SROs. Yeah.
Yeah. And those dogs were trained not only for narcotics, but for weapons or anything with black powder. So if somebody had a gun in their car or whatever, these dogs were trained to detect that. So I plan